Hi everyone, Sandman here. Today's video is brought to you by a donation from Pavel, and here's what he has to say. I like the way that you've improved the quality of your videos with time, with regards to the images and the sound quality, etc. So props for that. Have a nice day, and keep up the good work. Well, thanks for the encouraging words, Pavel. Since you didn't give me a specific topic that you'd like me to cover, I'm going to cover an article that someone brought to my attention yesterday called Why Great Husbands Are Being Abandoned. And it was written by Randy Gunther over at Huffington Post. And before you discount me and this article that I'm going to talk about, Randy gives us many reasons why women behave the way that they do, and also explains why divorce rates are just as high as ever, even when men in the millennial generation are doing exactly what women wanted. Men are more politically correct than ever, and you'd expect the number of divorces to go down, with men behaving like nice, sensitive guys. But the truth is the divorce rate is just as high as ever, and women are increasingly abandoning their husbands. Even the kind, caring, and sensitive guys are not immune from being kicked to the curb. Blue pill men are increasingly doing as they're being told, and it still leads to alimony, child support, and the end of their marriages. Now I want to read a paragraph from this article so you get a clearer picture of what's actually going on. So here's what Randy has to say. It's sexy to help make a meal or take the kids away on a Sunday morning so that your wives can sleep in. They are the androgynous guys that their women have asked them to become. You would think that the women in these relationships would be ecstatic. They've got a guy who wants to work out together, share parenting, support their parallel dreams, and make their family collective central to both of their lives. They've established an equal relationship of coordinated teamwork, and the guys don't seem to miss their old need to posture for power over intimate connections. Well, guess again. 50% of marriages are still ending in divorce, and women continue to be the gender that initiates those endings. In the past, their reasons for leaving most often had to do with infidelity, neglect, or abuse. Now they're dumping men who are faithful, attentive, and respectful, the very men that they say they've always wanted. Why would women who have accomplished the female dream suddenly not be satisfied with it? And why are they leaving these ideal guys, and for what reasons? So that's what a short excerpt from this article says. Listening to these words, you'd expect blue pill men to be confused because they don't understand what women want. In the past, men were considered brutish, emotionally distant, and the sole breadwinners for most of recorded human history. And in such cases, women stayed in marriage partially because life expectancy was much shorter than it is today, and also because society would shame and make outcasts out of women that left their husbands without any reasons. Marriage was for life, and there was no escaping it. Women clearly don't want a man to come home and then expect a warm meal on the kitchen table and the children tucked neatly into bed anymore. And they don't want a man to do those nice chores either, if we simply look at divorce statistics. And of course, most women will claim that men are just as lazy as ever and unattentive. But remember, Randy Gunther counsels couples, and he's hearing from women that they have the nice, attentive guys that they're supposed to want, and things are still bad. Here's yet another line from that article. You may think that these women are ruthless and inconsiderate. Those I know are far from that. More often, they still love their husbands as much as they did, but in a different way. They tell me how wonderful their men are, and how much they respect them. They just don't want to be married to them anymore. So according to Randy, women have men they supposedly respect, yet they don't want to be with them. Does this mean that instead of being with men that they respect, women would rather stay married to men they don't respect? It's quite an enigma for most blue pill minds. Enough to short-circuit the logic circuits in their brains. But if you read between the lines, you realize that this article is actually saying that women don't seem to want to be committed to anyone anymore. So for decades, men have been shamed for not giving women their commitment. And then when men do give women their commitment, they are abandoned for giving women that commitment in the first place. And at the same time, divorce rates have stayed the same. So men changed to accommodate to what women wanted, and women moved the goalposts and changed the rules to the game. This proves that most men are versatile and adaptive when it comes to jumping through hoops to do what women want. But the problem, as we can see, is that what women want in our society today is constantly changing and shifting. It's like trying to fire a gun during an earthquake and trying to hit a bullet with the bullet from your own gun. Even if your aim is true and you're going to hit the bullet, that doesn't mean you'll actually hit it. Because in many cases, that bullet you're trying to hit denies the laws of social physics. The bullet bends the rules of physics, and unless you have a time machine, you can't really know the outcome. That's what makes MGTOW so relevant in this day and age. Because I don't want to guess how the laws of social physics are going to change in order for me to stay in a relationship. And this article also points at the idea that maybe women don't want to be married to these sensitive dream guys because men got too nice and women got a little bit too challenging. Reading between the lines yet again, this is code for women might have gotten too mean and bossy, and men have gotten too nice and accommodating. So why marry someone and build a relationship and a family if in the past you were punished for being yourself as a man, and today you're also being punished for not being yourself, but instead being a puppy dog and following around a woman and doing all of the things that she wants? The truth is, most men don't care what hoops they have to jump through to get female attention and approval. They're willing to sell out their values, their time, their friends, and their mental and physical health for access to women. But let me move forward with yet another quote from Randy's article, so here goes. How can a man be a caretaker and a warrior at the same time? How can he serve his woman's need for a partner who is vulnerable, open, and intimate, while donning armor to fight the dangers that threaten his family and place in the world? How can he stand up and be a man amongst men, loyal to the hunting band that covers his back, while taking the night feeding, while not appearing less than a man? Did he blend his male energy with his female side, or did he learn to be more like a female at the price of his innate masculinity? What I just read to you should explain what's going on. Women are leaving their husbands for other men that are more masculine. In the recent past, many women said that they didn't need manly men, but instead they wanted guys to wash the dishes and change the diapers. And they got those guys, and now they don't want those guys either. Men are dealing with something that I'd like to categorize as Goldilocks syndrome. Men are not supposed to be too hot and not too cold, but just right. Men are like a bowl of porridge, and women are trying to find the right temperature. When men were too emotionally cold in the past, they weren't right. Now men are too emotionally warm or hot, so that doesn't work either. So the very nature of masculinity is being taken back to formula so that the next crop of guys can be just right. And you know the type of guys that I'm talking about. The strong yet sensitive, the muscular yet thin, the metrosexual yet brutish, all at the same time. You know the guys that don't exist, because they're a fantasy and an illusion. The types of guys women want are guys that only exist in the movies. But most men will once again try to conform to what women want and start to act in diametrically opposed ways. They will try to be a bad boy and a nice guy at the same time. They will be cold one moment and emotional the next. They will be loving in one minute and then be angry the following one. And once again, women might be happy for a time, but then after a while they'll get bored again and throw this new batch of guys under the bus. And they'll say that these new guys are giving them mixed messages. They'll probably say that these guys just can't decide what type of men that they want to be. Doesn't anyone else see the feudal nature of marriage and relationships? Doesn't anyone else see that no matter what men do for women, we will never satisfy them? One of the very first videos I put out was called The Misandry Treadmill. And in that video I said that no matter how hard men work to please women, and no matter what we do to give them what they want, it'll never be enough. And women abandoning great husbands just proves this without a doubt. Now as MGTOWs we have to sit back and watch the next version of masculinity that women will demand upon us men that we live up to. And I say that we all leave the plantation and let them stick around and figure out how to change men into the next version of what they want. In my last relationship, my partner was one of those emotionally distant women, and I couldn't communicate with her. I was trained to be very sensitive thanks to decades of indoctrination by the feminist establishment, and I was one of those sensitive guys that would call back women and open doors for them when they wanted. But as luck would have it, I ended up with someone that didn't want to talk. And I blame feminism for that because it's been trying to convince women that they should be more like men, that they should think and act like men and be emotionally distant like their fathers. They think that real men don't communicate, so women have increasingly stopped talking to their male partners. And the majority of men aren't wise enough to leave the relationships when the lines of communication break down. They usually stay in them even if they aren't getting what they want from their partners. Marriage has become the greatest irony in our culture. Women take most men into marriage kicking and screaming, but it's the women that are the ones that abandon men first when the going gets tough. Finally, I have to give a big shout out to Canadian MGTOW for pointing out this story so that I could actually make this video. If you haven't subscribed to his channel yet, then please do so, and I'm putting a link in the description below to his channel. Anyways, in the past men had to be cold and emotionless in a mostly male workforce, and in the past they had to compete with men to get ahead. Back then they also weren't competing with women like they are today. And their wives didn't seem to like the cold calculator men that would come home and force them to balance the books at home. Women didn't like the emotionally distant guys, so they told guys to become sensitive. Now they don't like sensitive guys either. Now they will tell us once again how to define our identities. One last thing, You may have noticed that yesterday's video was not put out on the usual time, and that's due to the fact that the fan on my video card burned out just as I was about to render yesterday's video and release it. I got a new graphics card, so things are back on track now, and in the next couple of months I'll probably pick up yet another computer capable of rendering, so I have a backup. Anyways, thanks again to Pavel for your donation, and thank you everyone else for taking your daily dose of red pills. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.